Sure. I'll talk it out.
Yeah, let's just have a conversation.
Track 3.
Better not be fucking Dave Matthews Band.
Okay. Those of you who don't want to be a part of this can leave now.
Derek, please listen to me.
But if you choose to stay, which it seems like you guys are choosing,
Derek, please.
you understand and agree to the following terms and conditions.
Derek!
1.
Derek, this is the virus
You
talking.
hereby waive your right
Derek, please.
to your own personal bodily integrity.
This is not you.
2.
I'm a life-
Per the state versus Neville Reed, my colleague and I will not be held criminally liable for any felony or misdemeanor that you may be a victim of, including, but not limited to, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, disorderly conduct, destruction of property, mayhem, and first-degree murder. And 3, terms and conditions may change or be updated whenever the fuck I want! Consider yourselves notified.
What up?
What's
DJ
going on?
Anubis.
What's
And
going on?
Neko.
What's
And
going on?
My
Hello.
co-host, Edgar Allan Poet. Football time.
It is football time.
How are you, my friend?
I am stoked. I'm stoked to do this episode. I know we got a lot of interesting things to talk about. I'm stoked for the upcoming season. I'm stoked for fantasy football drafts that are about to happen. I'm just fucking happy to be here and enjoyed every last fucking highlight that we saw.
Yeah, man. I love that intro. I'm so good now.
Are you?
No, not really, but I try. So we'll be talking a little bit about the Broncos, of course, a little bit about the Steelers, our respective teams. And then we're going to talk a bit about Michael Oher and the saga with that and the whole, like, suing his former family, whatever you want to call it at this point. But it's a very interesting story, I think. So I'm interested on your takes on that.
That's depressing.
It is, but
I'm always interested in these conservatorships because honestly, you have no idea how many times they've gone bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into. I sent a couple links over earlier today about the legal definition of a conservator, and then I found some articles talking about what a conservatorship typically looks like in a normal situation, how this wasn't a normal situation. There's some legal theories out there that the judge shouldn't have granted a conservatorship in the first place for this. It's rough because I think, like, I have like an opinion as to what I think happened, but I'm not positive. I'm not going to offer it as fact. But what I will do is, and I'll keep saying it, this is what I think happened. But I will give a little bit of a spoiler. Regardless of how it broke down, and I don't know how to say the family's name, the Touheys. It's like Touh.
Yeah,
Tui.
Tui, yeah.
Yeah, the Tuies. I don't like what they did. I'm not saying that they're completely lying. Someone's lying about the money because Oher is saying you made X, Y, and Z. They're saying no, we didn't. Then they sort of say that they got something else. So by definition, someone has to be wrong.
So I actually just read a really interesting. Damn it! Now I can't find it. I actually just read a really interesting article, and it was interviewing the. I guess it's the company that actually made the Blind Side, and they got into like what they actually paid. And I think because Michael Oher, he is saying that he did not get any kind of accounting, and the Tuies never actually reported the accounting. Yep. So that's why he's so concerned that he was given or he's in the conservatorship. So hold on, let me look at this.
I actually have a link to that, but I want to get to that after talking about a little bit about the stuff that's going on in the preseason right now. But
we jumped the gun.
Yeah, well, she can find a link. We'll get to it.
I have it open now.
Okay, gotcha. So just save on to that. Start with the Broncos. Obviously, so far in the preseason, from what I can tell, I mean, we're okay, but it's not really blowing me away either. But I just learned today that Jerry Jeudy went down in practice, so he has a hamstring.
Oh, I saw that.
So he'll be sidelined for a few weeks. And that kind of sucks, really, in that case. I just did not expect that. And we just have receivers that just keep dropping. Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's brutal because he is one of those guys, and it happens every couple of years, where you see a guy who's really talented, and he flashes enough to know that he's good. And then, like at the start of his career, he had some injury issues, which became, unfortunately, a constant, and he was playing with Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, so he wasn't exactly, coming in with a great chance to shine. And then his rookie year was the COVID season, which made it real hard on a lot of rookies in general. And then he's kept getting hurt. Last year, he was really good. He was one of the few bright spots on the offense, and he kind of became, at least it looked to me, like one of the leaders on the team because he's one of the few guys who, even when the season was pretty much over, was still showing fire, still showing energy. It was one of my criticisms of Russ, that he didn't really do any of those things. But you've had those, Patrick is done for the year. Hamler has that heart condition. Now you almost, I believe they said that they might be able to bring him back later on. So you're kind of hoping for that. And you're down to like Sutton, and Sutton's had injury issues too. That derailed his really promising career, at least thus far. So I feel for you all because you're getting wide receiver injuries at the time where wideouts mean the most in modern, in NFL history.
Yeah.
It sucks. It really sucks.
The only other really news I have for Denver is Ronald Darby, our former cornerback, signed with the Ravens for cheap.
Yeah.
He had spent some time being injured, but now like he's going to be on the Ravens. So I wonder if it's more of like a revenge thing for him in case he gets to the playoffs against Denver. It's almost like the Chris Harris thing.
Yeah, and that whole Chris Harris thing really frustrated me. I was team Chris Harris 100%. But with Darby, he was another guy who was up and down. When he was bad though, oh my God. Didn't he have like a half where he gave up like 2 touchdowns and like 150 yards like collectively? Like I think it wasn't just one. I think one guy took him deep and got a touchdown, which can happen. But then he had a lot of times, not a lot, but he had some really nice moments. I don't know. I always looked at him like he was either a head case or maybe they're asking him to do things that he wasn't suited to do. But like this is a league where corners are such a premium. You're starting 3 of them basically now. 11 personnel and the spread offense and all that stuff are so prevalent. And tight ends are basically wide receivers now too. So like I was kind of shocked that he had to wait so long because I've seen like it's not a great indictment to say, oh, he's not very good, but I've seen worse. But he's not very good, and I've seen worse.
Right.
I feel I watched some of the preseason, and I think that your offensive line is going to be better, but Garrett Bowles doesn't look the same. And I know I'm like the patron saint of Garrett Bowles, but 6 months ago, in the heart of the offseason, I was reading reports that like he might maybe miss the year or was being rushed back or whatnot. And so like I watched him play. He looked not as bad as he did when he was a rookie, but he looked real bad. And so that could be a big issue for y'all, unfortunately.
Right. The only thing for me personally on the Steelers I wanted to talk about was the first one's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So they were saying out there in the media that should the Steelers take the risk by playing their starters tonight? And I sat there and I go, well, personally, I like that when teams do that. So I hope Denver does that. And from what I looked, almost every team in the league is playing their starters.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have an article pulled up, and it's from SteelersNow.com. Hell of a website. Everybody should go. But it's titled "Expect More from Steelers Starters in Third Preseason Game." And historically, before Sean McVay said "fuck the preseason," didn't play anybody at all, and then went and made a bunch of deep playoff runs. Before that, it used to be your starters, especially like the veterans, we're going to maybe play a series or 2 each game tops. And then the third preseason game was like the audition game, like you're like going through it, you're giving them at least a quarter, and some coaches would give, a half. The quarterbacks usually played the first quarter, 3 or 4 series. There is some nuance to it. And then the last collective bargaining agreement happened, and Sean McVay was like, fuck it, and he even had like a young team then. You don't associate the Rams with draft picks and youth, but that's what he had. He was like, no, fuck it, it's dumb. And then everybody started doing that, and it worked for a while, and then it blew up, years later in people's faces. My stance was always, it depends on your team. The head coach, that's part of the head coach decision. And the head coach should know his team. And so even back in the day when you had like almost, very little preseason play. And to be fair, a lot of it was because like they practiced, like they were practicing with pads, more hardcore drills, et cetera, et cetera. But even back then, even if you're not playing most of your offensive starters, for instance, you might keep like, hey, our left guard needs some work, or left tackle needs some work, our wide receiver needs some work, or whatever. So
Right.
I'm not shocked to see Tomlin, who's kind of an old school guy, run the starters out there. I will say I'm not a fan of them playing more than a quarter or two, because at that point, like we've already seen guys get hurt in camp. We've already seen some big injuries in the preseason. There is something to be said for laying off of it. But I mean, fuck it. Old school
Well,
coach was like your guy. He was like, no, you're gonna stay on that field till you score some fucking points.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that a quarter or two is not bad. Yeah.
yeah.
So, do you have any other insight on the Steelers? Or wait, I did have this. So, I saw another article about your young tight end, Pat Fairmouth.
Yeah, the GOAT. The GOAT.
And he's becoming very good, one of the better tight ends in the league, but he's on his rookie contract right now.
Yes, he is.
And going into the next year, he might ask for a lot of money. Are you worried about that?
No. The first thing is we had last year the most expensive defense in the league by far. Part of that was our starting quarterback was cheap. We had a rookie quarterback in Pickett. Najee Harris was a rookie or on his second year. We had just drafted Pickens. Our offensive line was not expensive and definitely played like it. So some of that was with the Steelers. We had good defensive players and we had to pay them. Some of it was our offense was ass, and so we drafted new players to not be ass. So it kind of balanced out that way. You got to pay the offense. Like I'm still shocked that Mahomes could win a Super Bowl with Juju as his number one wideout. But unless you have that Mahomes magic, like you've heard me rant about it for years now. Look at the teams that made the AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game. Look at the Super Bowl contenders. Like look at all of their weapons on offense. That's one of the reasons why Brady went to Tampa. Yada 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 yada. You got to fucking pay him. And the thing with Freiermuth is, if we have to pay him money, that means he went for probably 700 to 1,100 yards and probably 8 to 12 or 13 touchdowns and stretched the field and was a good blocker. And so, like, yeah, ideally, from a management standpoint, you wouldn't have to pay anybody and you could have all pros everywhere. But, like, if it doesn't pan out, we drafted the kid from Georgia, right? So, that's, and then maybe one day we'll have two good tight ends and we'll have to pay both of them. It worked okay for I was going to say the Patriots, they signed some good tight ends, but their offense is ass. But I mean, their tight ends have been productive. And then again, maybe you don't hire a caveman defensive guru as your fucking offensive coordinator, but like, it just is what it is. Like sometimes I think we get so fixated on contracts and stuff that's like, you got to pay them, you just have to.
I think my favorite thing about this year so far is that Vance Joseph is back with the Broncos.
he okay, I'm not a Vance Joseph guy. I don't think many people are, but to be fair, as though I try to do, I know I say it a lot, but to be fair, if you look at his track record in Arizona, when he had players, they had a really good defense, and then they lost a lot of their defensive players, and then they were ass. So you could look at it like, even a good defensive coordinator needs good players, and they were like a top 5 defense, had a lot of turnovers under him. So it's he had a lot of talent, but he got a lot out of him. So I'm trying to be optimistic. I mean, I think he was a horrible head coach. He was a really bad head coach. So
right.
I'm just trying to give optimism because y'all have had some rough years. It could work.
Yeah. Have you caught any of the other preseason games at all?
No, I've really been more like reading articles and catching some YouTube highlights. I follow it, but it's hard to really hunker down and watch preseason ball. I think that what I find frustrating about the preseason. It's not even that it doesn't matter. Like I get their auditions and all that stuff. And I know that the way the CBAs have gone, you have less practicing, less intensive practice, all that stuff. But 4 preseason games is a lot, and it is only there so they can sell tickets and make revenue. Like
Yes.
that is
People
a
have been
waste.
clamoring for more games, more games, more games.
Yeah. Yeah. And I honestly, man, like if you told me they could get like more scrimmages or something so the players are in shape and know the offense and whatnot, and then 2 preseason games, it would be like it just is what it is. But then again, and I have to give the NFL this, they have found a way to make the NFL a year-long sport. You have the regular season, which goes on, and then you have free agency, and then you have the draft, and then you have like there's some lulls in there, but then you have, I mean, the fact that they even have us talking about preseason right now is some genius level marketing.
Yeah, it's August.
I know, and it's a winter sport. Like they fucked us. They fucked us good, and we like it. And we like it. That's the worst part about it. My nerd ass is like, I think if I draft like this way, I might be able to get a wide receiver in the 6th round, and then it opens up my plays for getting a quarterback in the 5th. Like they got us. They won. They fucking won, man.
Oh my
Well,
God.
I mean, last year, the players always complained that there's too much preseason or too much this or that, but
Yeah.
the reality is that they get hurt at any time anyway. This year people still fall. Like you can't do anything about it. Sometimes it's just
Yeah.
your training staff, whether or not they're good. Denver's notorious for being bad. I know people keep saying, well, Denver's really not that bad, but they really are.
Yeah, they really
Especially
are.
at key positions,
Yeah, and that's what you said is interesting because like I take a different position because you know what you just said, like, well, they can get hurt anyway. And so the response would be, well, if they can get hurt anyway, they can drop at any time, then putting them out there risks exposure, right? But to your point, like COVID season notwithstanding, because that first 2 weeks of the COVID season was a hot mess. Like you could tell that they didn't like. I think I watched Tom Brady fucking throw the ball into the dirt twice in one game. Like everybody was ass, whatever. But the first week or two, it's always bad. But in defense of your position, if I can get my team disciplined, if I can get my team operating well, maybe we win a game or two early on that we might have lost just because we committed fewer penalties or we had more cohesion. On the other end, and I don't know, I don't think this is controversial, right? Like you have quarterbacks, especially like year 7, 8, and on out. Man, I'll show up every once in a while and throw the ball around so my arm still works. But like I remember watching, I think it was Peyton Manning, who was always there at camp, always did his thing. But they asked him like why he was a Colt, like, do you do every drill? Do you want to play more games? Do you want to, blah blah blah. He's like, no, I do what I need. I know this because it was his offense, yada yada yada. I need to be here, but I'm really more here as a leader. On the other hand, I don't want to hear Kenny Pickett say that shit for another 4 years. You better get that ass out on that fucking field. Throw me some touchdowns before you talk about the offense. You are a young man on a rookie contract. You need some
or
hair
if
on
you're
your chest.
a $240 million man like Russell and
It suck.
well, yeah, if you're struggling with offenses or just getting in grooves, we need you to be out there. Like that's important.
It's his third offense in 3 years.
I really agree that Russ needs to be out there with the guys right now because last year was such a terrible year for him. And what I found so interesting was I did not realize until later in the year that his very close friend passed away.
Yeah.
So I think that had a lot to do with it.
A lot of people did.
I really don't know. I'm still sold on the idea that he hurt his hand the year before in Seattle, and he rushed back out there. And I don't think, because he had games where he looked really good, and then especially towards the end of the year, and then he had other games where it didn't look all that great. So
yeah.
like this offseason, it's the same thing. Like in practice, sometimes he looked like ass. Other times, not so much.
It's so interesting because I remember he got cleared by Seattle and he got cleared by Denver when they made the trade. I watched. There's a former player, now analyst, Greg Jennings, pretty good wide receiver from Green Bay, wrapped up his career in Minnesota, if memory serves.
Yep.
He was talking about like last year he saw Russ come into Denver, was out of shape, and that was one of the reasons why he thought that he kind of likes Russ this year is that he's in shape and in better shape. They showed like a workout video and they kind of paired like the body and all that. He's not talking smack and he's not doing all of this stuff and that would be like ammunition for like that ill-fated is Russ a fraud thread on the beloved board, just more proof that it, supporting the non super duper homer take. But this is what I will say for that now in regards to him. So with Russ, it's his third offense in 3 years, like the Seattle offense, whatever the fuck it was y'all were doing last year, and then the Sean Payton offense, which at least makes sense, right? Because it's Sean Payton, and he's a Hall of Fame fucking coach. So he's learning a new offense. He's got some new guys in there. There's not a lot of continuity. He's got some new offensive line players, which is good. I'm not as worried that he's looking super bad at times. What I'm worried about is his ego, and it's not even to bash him. Russ said on a very famous interview that I want to win MVPs, and I have zero issue with that. That is a goal that a lot of players and a lot of team sports had. Michael Jordan was infamously pissed when Karl Malone and Barkley got MVPs. LeBron James watched Derrick Rose steal one from him. These guys, these are legacy, like you're up there like with the GOATs type stuff. Like that stuff matters. And these guys are hyper competitive. But what came after that was the infamous let Russ cook, and it worked for a while, and then it didn't. He's not I'm not saying he's a stupid quarterback, but I have never in the 14 years, or however long he's been in the league now, heard anyone go, oh yeah, he's like Manning or Brady or any of the other cerebral guys. He plays a more natural brand of football, which I have zero issue with. But he stopped trying to make plays with his feet. And, some folks like Beloved Jaded, who I'm desperately trying to get him on this show. One day I will. But he was like, well, I can show you that he's running around in these instances. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't mean he did a fucking good job of it. I could be driving a car and crash it. Well, why'd you crash it? Well, I was driving it. I was just driving it with my feet, but I was driving it. Didn't mean I did a good fucking job. But then, we watched him not run. Like that was a criticism that a lot of people had about him. Then I felt bad. He ran for that beautiful touchdown. I think it was against Jacksonville. And then some fucking asshole hit him in the fucking head after he had crossed the goal line and Russ had a concussion. Like I watch a lot of MMA and they zoomed in on his face. The cameraman was a savage. They zoomed on his face. He's got like one eye rolled up behind his head. The other eye's glassy. He's drooling. You think he's back in fourth grade. And I'm like, damn, like stop panning in on that. Like the man's not all right. So that is, if he's going to revert back to that, I want awards. I want to do it. I want to prove that I'm just as much of a pocket passer as X, Y, and Z. Then he's screwed because he's not. That's not his game. That'd be akin to, like, I never heard, a point guard be like, I just got to show people that I can back someone down in the paint. I'm dominant in the paint. No, that's not what you do. And for Russ, he cares so much about his image. It's so carefully cultivated. Everything about him really, and not so much this year, but for a while, and not just last season, everything came across so absolutely phony and inorganic. The guy had a media team and his special trainers and all this shit. And Peyton came in and instantly, yeeted that shit out the fucking door. I just want to know, like, it's pretty clear that Russ's mindset last season was a big reason for his failure. That's why I could say firing Hackett was fine, but Russ still wasn't great. Like the comparing his stats from before Hackett and after Hackett, like for last season, Like
Oh,
people were like,
it was
well, look how
terrible.
much better he was. And he still sucked. He still sucked. He didn't suck as much.
I feel
and
like
with
Hackett wanted to be his friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you got to coach him.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's pretty much what it came down to. Hackett was more of everybody's friend instead of actual leader.
He tried to Aaron Rodgers it, and Neko brings up an excellent point because that was his reputation. The reputation his relationship with Aaron Rodgers was, and that's okay. I think an offensive coordinator can be his quarterback's friend.
Mhm.
I think you can.
Coach needs to be a little bit more of a hard ass.
You if I'm going to be buddy, you got to give me a Super Bowl ring. Like you got, like we have to,
Russ has the capability.
But he
Yeah,
does.
He beat the Broncos. I watched it. I cried.
He put his stats came in the second half when the game was over, but his stat line says he beat the. I don't want to talk about.
He beat us other times in Seattle too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
he
like
did.
he wasn't
He did.
like a scrub.
No, and he's and I'll say this for Russ. There are people who are like, well, if he keeps deteriorating, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer, and I think that's about the dumbest thing I ever heard. Like,
Nah,
if everybody's like, oh, it's all about quarterback wins and efficiency. Okay, if it's all about wins and we're just blindly doing that, then he's a Hall of Famer. If it's all about quarterback efficiency, then for the most part, he's a Hall of Famer. Like, yeah, if he plays 8 more years and he's Zach Wilson level bad for 8 years, then sure. But I would be curious as to know how he would keep getting those starting jobs. So, like, I think that we piled on to his play maybe a little too much, although the memes were amazing. But I feel like he actually got a pass for all the goofy, dumb shit that he was doing in the preseason and then in the offseason too. Like, and it is what it is. Like, he's a guy that you're either going to love him or you're going to hate him.
He also lives a very different life. He has a wife who is a celebrity.
Yeah, and he wants to be a celebrity is what a lot of people knocked him for. But he's reportedly a great dad. He's reportedly a real nice guy. I thought that, I've never thought that he wasn't anything less than an A+ caliber guy. I think you can be a good person and have a huge ego. And I will say this, and it's the benefit of the doubt that I give a lot of these people. In a society that loves to build people up just to tear them down, I want some good shit that I did on camera too. Like I want people to know that I did some good shit too. And
well, that's funny because he took flack for that too, where he was too nice. Like, he didn't do the Jake Plummer or the Jay Cutler move. He was just like, he took all the heat that he was getting and just rolled with it.
And that I will say I appreciated the fact that even though he kept doing the Broncos country let's ride scripted can stuff when y'all were sucking, he really did try to catch some fucking bullets for y'all. And I think that when Hackett got fired, I watched Russ take the podium and thanked Hackett and talked about how he felt it was his responsibility and stuff like that. And that did come across as sincere. But he does shit where Pete Carroll called him out. I didn't like Pete doing this. I thought it was a lowbrow move. He called him out for not wearing the stupid fucking wrist thing with the plays on it. And then the next time Russ did a media thing after a practice or whatever, he was wearing one. And it's like, bro, like first off, Pete Carroll is a cranky old fucking man who cheated at USC, and when they got caught, he fucking left. He got a second run in Seattle after he sucked as a head coach in the NFL the fucking first time.
What?
And no, like, I'm not a Pete Carroll guy. I actively dislike Pete Carroll, and I think he's an asshole. So my point is that most people don't like Pete Carroll. So why would Russ give a shit that old grumpy fucking gum chewer is like, hey, my quarterback who helped me win a bunch of fucking games and saved my resume in the NFL didn't wear the wrist thing. It's like, shut up, you eat your fucking goddamn prunes, drink your prune juice, watch Matlock, and shut the fuck up. You little fucking, I hate Pete Carroll. Pisses me off. And then Russ did that, and I was like, no, you just validated Pete Carroll. Don't give him more power. Stop.
Fuck Pete Carroll.
Fuck Pete Carroll. We stand Marshawn Lynch and Marshawn Lynch only when it comes to Seattle Seahawks.
All right, so let's get into the Michael Oher thing now.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know,
Segue.
yeah, Michael is the star or the subject of the movie The Blind Side, which starred Sandra Bullock, and did very well. Like, a lot of people were receptive to it. Good story. Michael was kind of like in the foster system for a while, and then got taken in by the Tui, and eventually went on to be a high prospect playing at Old Mississippi. And of course, that became the book and then a movie. And we kind of thought things were great because he got drafted by the Ravens. And
it's been kind of quiet for a while, though, if you think about it, because Michael Oher, he just now has decided to contest everything regarding his conservatorship. And I don't know if it's just maybe like as he's getting older, he's starting to realize
He got
something
fucked.
wasn't right. Yeah.
I would like, and I know I do this every once in a while. I know it's boring. I would like to read the definition of a conservator or a conservatorship. This is from Cornell's legal library. Bear with me. I know it is not fun, but I'll read it in a fun voice. A conservator is an individual who handles the financial or daily life affairs of a conservatee or a party deemed incompetent by a court. The roles of a conservator and a conservatee follow from the legal concept of conservatorship, which is similar to legal guardianship, but it is not the same as legal guardianship. That's a fact that we'll use later. Conservatorships are typically governed by state laws. In some jurisdictions, terms like guardian of the state or trustee are used synonymously with conservator. Okay, so that sounds like, go ahead, that's all right, but why are we talking about it? He was adopted. The movie said that he was adopted, but he wasn't adopted. Now, I did some digging. Now, the full disclosure, I am not a lawyer. I am not your lawyer. I got a very fancy law degree and then was a prosecutor for a handful of months and said no, and yada, yada, yada. But what I am telling you is this is a concept that came up in Trust and Estates, a horribly boring class that I took because it's on the bar. Okay. A conservatorship is really a creature of state law, as per that definition. And so when you talk to legal scholars who have been asked about this case, right? And I quote, and this is from a Yahoo article. I think that when we throw this up on YouTube, we might throw the links in there. But you can find this on Yahoo under an article entitled Michael Oher conservatorship, and this is a red flag. Michael Oher conservatorship, unlike any legal experts have seen before. And
Before you continue, I just had to break this news. Apparently, Bray Wyatt has passed away at age 36.
The wrestler?
Yeah.
What?
Bray Wyatt passed
Jesus.
away. That was one of Chad Duke's favorite guys.
Oh,
he's like my favorite podcaster.
Yeah, so I just thought I'd break that. Like, that's really surprising. 36 is way too young.
He had been. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, is he battling an illness or anything?
That was reported. So I do follow. I don't watch Monday Night Raw or AEW Dynamite every week. I don't have the time, but I follow it. I pay Peacock $3 a month to catch the network, and I bought in the past couple years a handful of the AEW pay-per-views. I am a wrestling fan. He had not been he or him being Bray Wyatt. He had not been actively wrestling for several months, and then there kept being reports that he has an illness. That might have been why he had his last match he was scheduled for was at a pay-per-view with Brock Lesnar. There are reports that Brock said he didn't want to wrestle him. This was like 8 months ago, 6 months ago, somewhere in there. And then
so
that's
maybe
what
he didn't want to wrestle because he was ill.
that could have been. I mean, Brock is a diva, like, and so like he
That's
doesn't
true.
want to
That's
wrestle.
true.
But then after that, that's when the undisclosed illness, undisclosed injury thing kept being posted repeatedly. And Bray has had an up and down career in WWE, mostly because Vince McMahon is fucking horrible and horrible scripted promos and doesn't let people use their actual charisma and books to an audience of one. Bray was immensely talented, and so it's horrible for him. May he rest in peace, and his family and his friends. And he was adored, reportedly, in the backstage. And it's horrible. It's horrible for the industry as a whole because he's one of the most creative, inventive guys out there. So it's a staggering loss. I mean, his brother is a professional wrestler, and so God,
That's right. They did the whole Wyatt family thing, right?
Yeah, and his brother wasn't in that, ironically, because wrestling families and real families, it's like Edge and Christian were supposed to be brothers and they're not.
Oh, but they weren't for real.
Yeah, but they weren't for obviously they weren't. They looked nothing alike, right? But and Edge is probably going to show up at AEW at Wembley, but with Bray, his brother was he had this super positive, optimistic shtick. God, I can't remember his name. Like I can picture him. They look alike, although his brother's a lot smaller than Bray. Bray was just a hoss of a man. Looked like a linebacker, but that's a sad thing. I mean, 36 is like,
yeah. I'm reading the announcement right now.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, anyway, back to the football stuff. You were continuing on with what you were saying.
Yeah,
it
derailed the whole thing.
It was with the unlike any legal experts have seen before. And so basically, I'm going to summarize, so I don't just have to keep reading at you all. But basically, what a lot of the legal experts have said when they're asked about this is that the conservatorship that he had was wild because in Tennessee, where he got it, you have to have some type of ailment, like either physical or ailment or mental ailment. He did not. He went on to beat the shit out of people at the collegiate level. It was a first-round draft pick. So physically, he was very fine, and mentally, he
was a student.
Yep, and that's one of the reasons I hated that movie is because he's like, they made me look like I was an idiot, and I wasn't.
Thank you.
And
now that's the thing I want to get at because he made that statement. He said, "The movie made me look stupid. I'm not stupid."
He's not stupid.
But then I sit there and I say to myself, "Okay, so you're not stupid, but somehow you didn't bother to." When the movie was getting made and all this stuff, you didn't bother to get anything in writing.
He did. He did.
Okay.
But this is disputed. So I should say maybe he did, because there's one account that he signed on with that studio, but the contract that he signed basically said he wasn't getting any money for it. Then there's an account from the family's lawyers, Lewis, or something Lewis. He wrote the book The Blind Side.
Yes.
And he reportedly, according to Mr. Toohey, that's where he got the money. Okay, is that the author Lewis gave him half of the money that he got, but then the Tooheys say allegedly that, and this is the part that really freaks me out. The mom and the dad and their biological children, Mr. and Mr. Toohey and their two kids, all got like $250,000.
So, according to this article, the movie studio paid $767,000 in payments delivered through their talent agency for 4 members. So 4 times $767,000 for the Tuohys, which would be the mom, dad, and the 2 biological children.
Yep.
And they said that Michael Oher also got the $767,000
Right.
in payments too.
And
Yes. So this article from Entertainment Tonight or whatever came out, and I think it's only like a day old, but it said that, and it's actually different than what Neko was pointing out with the money, because they said that they were only like 225,000 or something.
Right.
This is People Magazine actually interviewing the movie studio.
Right. And so I want to touch on that too, because we have 3 or 4 different articles that all have different accounts. And I'm not saying that the journalists are doing anything wrong.
I think they're going to different sources.
I think right. And this is what's wild, is that the conservatorship in 2000, I do feel like I need to quote this. In 2004, this is from that article about the unlike any legal thing that these people have seen before. The judge appointed the Tuohys conservators of the person, which provides the legal authority to make healthcare and housing decisions for incapacitated individuals in need. But in this case, the judge also grounded power of attorney to the Tuohys and declared that Oher would not be allowed to enter in any contracts without the direct approval of the wealthy Memphis couple. And here's a quote from John Crow, who's a legal scholar, yada yada. That is beyond conservatorship over a person. This guy is based in Nashville. Apparently, he's a big deal. Conservatorships over the person shouldn't apply to a person's finances. To me, I'd read that as a full conservatorship, which is sort of what Britney Spears' parents or dad or whoever had it over, where she could do nothing. So you have a conservatorship that shouldn't have been in the first place. And this is something I do want to add real quick, too. Their justification for it was, well, we're donors. They're rich. So they are considered donors to Mississippi. So we want to do that. That way we don't run afoul of the NCAA investigations. Legal experts have said just flat out adopting him as an adult would not have violated that. So it looks like their justification.
They said something about because of his age, he was 18, they could not do that. I don't know how true
you can adopt anyone at any age.
You can adopt someone as an adult.
So why would they have problems doing that?
Because they're rich and they know what they're doing and they have powerful lawyers.
That is how it looks. Because
according to this, Alcon Entertainment is the name of the movie studio. So the Times found out that there's a Tuohy Foundation, right, that the mom and dad have, and they were getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of donations, especially right after The Blind Side, but they found that less than 20% of its total received donations for charitable efforts were going towards charitable efforts.
Right.
So it's like they were using 80% for operational costs and 20% went to the actual charities. And the whole idea was they started this charity so that they could show that there's such good people and they know how to take up a disadvantaged child and get them in at the right place at the right time.
It just so happens that this one was considered to be a slam dunk NFL prospect heading in the call. Yeah. And to everything you said, I will play devil's avocado for a second. A lot of charities. I don't know if 80-20 passes the smell test, but a lot of them operate where most of the money goes to operational costs because they're expensive.
Breast cancer.
Yeah. However, 80-20 is pretty rough, but I do want to just bring that up, although I'm not going to lie to you. When I read more and more about this, I see that Michael Oher is asking for something that makes a lot of sense. I'm still in this conservatorship. For 19 years, you have not updated the court, which you're supposed to.
And they've never filed any kind of accounting with Tennessee, not once. Tennessee never checked on the Tuohys.
Nope. It doesn't look good. And so he's like, I just want to see a paper trail. And then I hope he's going to ask for the conservatorship to be dissolved. But this is important too. He allegedly signed that contract with the movie studio where he basically got nothing, right? If that's
But
true,
he was supposed
I
to
don't
get
know
760,000.
thousand. But according to one account, let's say, and I'm not going to lie to you, no matter what happened, this I think it's pretty clear. This guy got fucked, and he got fucked when he was young. And God, that sounds horrible. He got screwed over when he was
And he was mature.
young.
He was
Yeah,
trusting these people who took him in.
and
But
he
he's
did, and
smart. He's
well,
smart.
you can be smart, and I mean the amount of people who are smart and still screw up basic things like taxes or whatnot, like when he's going from being homeless to trying to figure out what college he's going to with a family who says that they love him and his life is going better. I think he could be a smart kid and still kind of fumble that. I think that the issue
He really
that
believes that they're his
well,
family and that
well
they love him.
he did give them credit. I mean, he said that like one of the issues he had with the movie was it didn't harp on like when they did the conservatorship, he did it with his mother as well. Like she approved, and he did say the Tuohys were a huge part of it. They didn't show the movie didn't show everyone else, but they were a huge part of it. I trusted them. We were a family. So I don't think he completely hates them. I think he's coming from a standpoint of somebody owes me money either legally or morally. I
Well,
don't like this conservatorship, and
this is what I think it comes down to is two things. Because I'm going to hold reserve judgment because I really don't know what the real story is. Like you just said,
we have a million reports. Yeah.
So one, if the Tuohys, which they say Michael tried to shake him down for like $15 million before he went public, if they have a paper trail for that, he's fucked.
Yeah, but he needs their paper trail.
But two, if Michael can prove what he says about the hiding of money and they made a lot more off of that deal, they're fucked.
Well, this is honestly, he has not seen the documents from the state of Tennessee at all. Like, they never filed the accounting, and if you are in some kind of financial conservatorship, they were supposed to file the documents, and they never did. The other thing that I think is irritating Michael Oher was he said that Leanne Tuohy sort of became like a motivational
Superstar?
speaker. No. She became like a motivational. I'm sorry, I'm looking down and reading, but like,
that's fine.
She became Leanne Tuohy has charged $30,000 to $50,000 per appearance as a motivational speaker.
Yeah,
Michael's pointed to that. He says like everyone was making bank off his name. That's what he's been saying.
And I will say this. I'm gonna the judgment that I'm not reserving is I think it's pretty clear that it was not fully explained to him what this conservatorship was. And it really looks like one of the biggest issues here is the judge, who apparently, because according to all these legal experts in Tennessee, it's for what he was on record getting, you have to have physical or mental disabilities. So it was an error of law, or like an unlawful disposition is what it is sometimes referred to when a court does something that it can't, but it still happens because nobody corrected it, yada yada yada. So it's pretty clear to me that the judge screwed up. You could read between the lines and feel like maybe they knew.
Uh-oh.
We lost your voice.
Come back. Poet, you're muted. You have the mute button on. Turn the mute on.
Oh, he does.
Turn the mute off.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh my God, I'm such a nerd.
You must have hit the mute button by accident. We're a professional setup here. Yeah, we're not doing that crazy grudge shit, okay? You can just keep that shit at home.
Can you not hear me?
No, you sound beautiful. I can hear you.
We can hear you.
It's you, not me.
Okay. So I can't hear you all. and that's horrible. So, fuck me.
Well, it's okay because I know we're getting down
How
to
do
the
I do
nitty
this?
gritty here.
All right, I'm going to pretend that I know what you're saying. Yes, it is true. It is that long. It's a gift from God.
Ooh,
With that being said, I am
how
checking it now, and
nice.
I feel like I don't know about what the money trail is. I have an idea, but it's not been proven.
That's some bullshit.
Let me try.
Oh, he said he
Okay,
can't hear me.
You can't
I
hear
can
us.
hear you. I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me
Oh,
now?
you can. Okay.
And
Okay,
now, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
so do I sound better now? Or am I
Yes,
worse again?
you sound better.
I'm actually gonna order a couple things when we're done because I think I know how to solve this, but it's gonna take
We'll
some.
do that next week.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably wait till the very end of preseason, which is a couple weeks from now. Or no, it's not.
We
This is it.
no, yeah,
This is
we're
it.
coming up real close.
So yeah,
So
next week we'll be at it again.
yeah, I think we will.
Kick off
But I
the
won't be
NFL
on,
season.
so it won't be a big deal.
My
All right, it was fun having you.
yeah, it was great having you. I don't even know where I was. I just know I had to make a dick joke to save the moment. Um, and that's why he married you, right there. That right there. It's a skill. Don't
So
ever let anyone tell you it's not.
I hear some kind of clicking. Oh my god!
That's him. He's
That's
clicking
me.
something.
What are you
Yeah, that's just me.
clicking?
That's magnets. That's just me. That's just me being obnoxious.
Oh my
He's clicking his money. He's counting all his
Yeah,
money.
that's
god!
all that lucrative prosecutor money I made for a couple of months.
Because I'm like, okay, I'm not echoing as bad as I was, but now I hear clicking. So what the fuck? I don't know. How, I can't.
You're having a stroke. It's
I must be.
like,
No, I fuck.
I don't even know. Okay, all right. I know where I was. I can
Okay,
finish this
go
thought
ahead.
in like in
Okay,
10 seconds, and I know
okay.
that's okay. So basically, I feel like he was lied to. I feel like it's clear that something wasn't right about what happened with the forming of of this arrangement, and he should have been adopted. But when it comes to the money, I think that what might have really happened is that legally the money was handled properly and he got screwed. Although, to your point, if they were holding back money, that's going to be real bad for them. But just optically, let's say that legally they didn't do anything wrong, but they were making all of this money and they were profiting off of the motivational speaking, and they had all of these residuals, and he wasn't getting any. People are going to hate them for it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, that will fuck them totally because social media is unrelentless. So I
yeah,
mean, if he can prove any of that, even if it legally, as you said, they were in the right, they misled him.
yeah,
So everything he's complaining about is he's entitled to that money.
you're right. And
So
yeah,
I won't feel sorry for him if they fucked him over at all.
no, and I think that where I'm really empathetic towards him is, you know, I had friends coming out of high school, 17, 18, who made like the second interview at Harvard. They were truly brilliant people, made me look like a dunce. And they would believe any and everything that their parents told them, right? Because like you tend to trust your parents or parental figures like that, and
And that's the
it
big
feels
thing. It
slimy.
says that Michael was falsely advised by the Tuohys that because he was over the age of 18, that the legal action to adopt Michael would have to be called a conservatorship, but it was for all intents and purposes an
Yeah,
adoption. And then another, I guess this is point counterpoint. Someone is responding in this article by saying, if you can handle signing a multi-million-dollar contract, then you should have understood.
no,
But
no,
he was
that's
23 when he signed that
he had an
contract, and
agent. His agent was probably a fucking lawyer who went to Yale, who was like, "Hey, I want that 8% off that fucking contract." Like that the person
oh,
making that comment has no idea what they're talking about and should read more books.
breaking news. Michael Oher believes that the signature on this document is very similar to his own, but he does not know whether the signature was forged.
Oh Jesus.
Ooh.
That that Can I make a weird segue? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The plot thickens.
So in 2007, there were contracts where he agreed to sign over his life rights for The Blind Side that he says may not be his because he did accept he had the same what do you call it? I guess contract that the rest of the Tui family did.
The same cut, yeah.
The same cut. But he's saying he believes that the signature on the document is not his, but it looks very similar.
Jesus fuck. Do you all? This is going to be a weird segue, but I will loop it back. Do you remember when we covered Dwayne Haskins, Anubis?
Yeah.
Okay. So when that story came out, it looked like it was a young man who was doing better, who made some bad life decisions, right? And okay, X amount of money, and there's the issue with the reporting, which the reporting wasn't the best, right? Like in I don't. Okay. Then months later, we bring it up because, or I bring it up. One of us bring it up. We bring it up because his family sued the garbage truck company. That's
Right.
what hit him because bad brakes, all that stuff, right? Like the unsafe operation. That company just settled with the Haskins estate and admitted, some fault. Okay, he's still
Right.
suing other people because there's that crazy story about how he was drugged, he didn't know where he was robbed, and God, it sounds horrible. Okay, when we talk about reserving judgment, there are a lot of people who said some wild, not so nice things about Haskins who don't necessarily look the best now with the stuff that's come out, right? And so I don't want to sit here and try to beat up too much on the Tuies, even though right now it doesn't look great for them, right? However, if you trick somebody into a contract and then you forge their name and you basically steal from them, whether legal, illegal, somewhere in the middle, there is a thing that I think should exist that's called like a cosmic ass beating. And that shit bothers me. And I don't want to kill them because like I don't know what happened. I know it looks bad. But when Neko was reading that to me, it just made me think about how at the start of this, when he brought this up years and years and years ago, right? A lot of people are really fucking skeptical because it's like, well, there is the movie and all this, and why are you talking now?
Movies are drama.
Yeah, but it's like, but the argument was, well, why are you waiting now when you knew that movie was going to come out? It made him look like he was being opportunistic or petty or whatever. So, but if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. When when he said that, I was like, wow, you look kind of crazy saying that, right? Like this looks like a real weird situation. But I'm not going to bash you for it because maybe the only reason somebody would say all this is because it's true. You know what I mean? Like there is that sort of thing about it. So in this alternate universe where the Tuies, like they made a legal mistake and they wish they could redo things or whatever, and maybe it's somewhere in the middle for fault or they weren't whatever. Like I get that is a possibility, because I think of the Dwayne Haskins situation where a lot of people have egg on their face about it. But if you like. People go to prison for forging legal documents. They go to prison for forging checks. Forgery usually means I did this to steal something.
I'll be honest. I hope that this is nothing more than Michael Oher chasing air. And the reason why I say that, we're in a bit of a culture war in society right now.
Yeah.
And how fucking bad would that add to a pile when you have a rich white family
taking advantage of a disadvantaged young black man?
It would just crush like the further problem that we have going right now.
And to your point, brother, one of the criticisms of the movie, and I thought that I've never seen the movie. I didn't find it.
It's not bad. It's cute.
I'm sure it's fine. I mean, Sandra. Like, if I was gonna watch that movie, it's because like Sandra Bullock is one of the finest women I've ever seen.
Sorry, I got all loud. Sandra Bullock is starting to take shit for this because she played
That's so dumb. Like she knew.
They want her to give the Oscar back.
Why would she give the Oscar back? What did she do other than act and be fine as hell?
Nothing. And do you know that her long-term partner just died from ALS like a week ago, and then this breaks.
I did not.
This breaks, and she's getting so much shit from.
She didn't do anything.
She just portrayed a woman.
Had nothing to do with the real shit.
Yeah, that'd be like if I became like a famous author, and then somebody played me.
You are going to be a famous author.
But yeah, that's right. Right. So like after I become a famous author,
friends, right?
Right. No. To our listeners,
Neko just fucking let that shit out of the bag.
Contextually, it's not what it sounds like. Okay, and
he's a man whore.
No.
He's like the wrestler, the Godfather. He's got the move train.
I'm a monogamous man. Regardless, I need you're a monogamous man.
He's moving around so much. Who do you think's under the table?
He's got to get the fuck away from him.
I won't lie. They just throw it at me right, left, and center. But anyway, anyway.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
This beard is oftentimes used as a seat. Okay, like it is a great thing to sit on. I've been told.
Nice and warm
and well conditioned. Anyway, I don't even know what the fuck I was talking about now. Actually,
Neko threw that one out there.
Yeah, that was a grenade. That fucking the Tuies. The fucking he's gonna get hurt when he's playing quarterback for the Dolphins. Wait, no, that's the wrong Tuie. I don't know. I got nothing.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, the societal woes. I do remember. One of the criticisms of that movie, and I haven't seen it, so I'm not saying it's true, but there is this thing called the white savior, where like the white people come in and
it's 100%
they do all
the white savior.
The savior, and then that public speaking thing where she's making 30 to 50 grand a pot after basically
speech.
Yeah, exactly, per speech.
To be fair, though, we have Hillary Clinton. We have all these politicians.
Oh yeah, $300,000 for speaking on Wall Street.
No, I understand that, but I think what Michael Oher's point is, if she is benefiting financially off of my likeness, and I didn't even realize that I signed over my personal finances to her, so she also has control over my finances, and she's benefiting in her own finances. Plus,
absolutely. I mean, if she's still using his name to make a lot of money and he's not seeing anything from it, that's a problem.
But she might now, again, not to play backseat lawyer, but like you can do public speaking and talk about your experiences.
I mean, I'm not saying she's doing it illegal.
No.
She wouldn't have had this experience without Michael Oher.
It adds to his frustration about it.
Right, and it talks about like when I said like somebody might owe him money either legally or morally. You know, like the law does not care about morality. Like, but you know, the point is that like a bad contract can fuck you, even though like what you really should, if it was fair or at least less unequitable, get X, Y, and Z. My point with the culture issue that you brought up is, if this is all a scam or some of it's a scam, or I'll just say if this is bad, just in general, like if this is bad, and then she's doing these speaking things, and these speaking things have that, it's really about glorifying herself, and like because that's what a lot of that white savior archetype is. Right,
they're Christians, and they have their foundation as well. So they've got their foundation, and she's going out there collecting money for the foundation. And what if they're starting to like do some funky accounting because they have the foundation, and they found out that only 20% actually goes to charity.
It's so brutal, because then it would look like maybe you cared about this kid, maybe you didn't. You can hurt people that you love, but all of a sudden.
Do you think this Sandra Bullock will star in The Blind Side 2 when they go back and revisit?
Oh my God. The Blind Side 2 is going to be him fucking clocking them from the fucking flank going, where's my money? You owe me money. But yeah. And this looks so bad, and so much is up in the air.
And I also, so sorry, I just keep reading all these things. The original 2004 petition does not include any language addressing Orr's finances or future assets and how they should be accounted for. At the time he entered into this, there was probably no need for an accounting, so the court didn't require one.
So the court looked at this kid who was like, "Oh, you these people want you to be in a conservatorship because you're going to go to your pick of just about any college team, and you're projected to be a starting tackle. In college, he played left tackle. He moved to right tackle, which doesn't make as much money, but it's still NFL money. And this is something that doesn't expire just because you're of age, because we're not doing an adult adoption or an adoption at all. So yeah, there's no need for an accounting at all for the guy who's going to sign contracts or is like, I don't know what a right tackle would because like he was pretty good. He didn't live up to his
all right.
talent,
He was
or
all right.
he had like what, 1 or 2 Pro Bowl years. Like he was a good player for a while, but you don't have to be a great player to make a lot of money in the NFL. And so the judge, who I'm presuming is a football fan because they live in the South, so they're like, nah, fuck it, we don't need any future account for accounting in the future. It'll work out. Like that is a bad judge. Like that is the one thing I will stand on. Other than this looks horrible for the Chewy family, and I think that they did something wrong in how they explained this to him.
I also
that
think
judge
that
sucks. Sorry to yell, but that
It's
judge
okay.
sucks.
I also think that they are very, very rich.
Yeah.
And because they're very, very rich, they're also influential in
Yeah.
other parts of the
Oh,
world
of course.
and
Yeah.
other part legal system type things. So it was said that he could have ended his conservatorship, right?
I will say this real quick, because you brought that point, Neko. I didn't watch the full video, but I did see that Candace Owens spoke on this, and I know she was starting to rail on Michael Oher. So I might have to go back and revisit that just to see what she said. But it's coming down to this, like, right versus left.
We need to do like a reaction to that, because sometimes I love her, just like sometimes I love Amala, and sometimes because
But they do dig their roots in, though. They do dig their roots in.
I am
Candace
not
Owens.
I am not like a super
As
conservative
Nomad would
person
say,
at
it's
all.
like my tribe.
Shout
not
out
a
to
super-
Nomad.
Happy birthday, Nomad, by the way. It's your
Happy
birthday.
Happy birthday, Nomad.
I am not like a super conservative person at all, but like obviously I try to find like the middle ground or find things that I agree with people when it comes to like, you know, I that's why I sometimes I really enjoy watching what's her face that we just said,
Amala.
Amala. And but there are sometimes that they get so uber conservative. I was just
What does that
unbelievable.
say?
Oh no.
Oh, I see that score. Yeah, that's what our record is going to be, 17-0. Yeah,
It's about
easy
it.
dub in the Super Bowl. No, and look, we've
Kenny
had our
Pickett.
political.
4 for 4 for 86 yards.
Who did what?
Yep.
Kenny
Oh,
Pickett.
the Steelers are playing a preseason game, and he was showing the score, and
Hello.
17-0, so it's making the perfect.
Yeah, Ravens fans are hating that, but that's okay.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good idea. Fuck the Ravens. Hey, wait,
Uh,
I'm less echoing. Fuck.
No, you're right.
Okay.
To the point of what you're saying, I appreciate people who try to find common ground with folks, even if they don't fully agree, just so you can have something that's more workable, or at least not dislike people that you disagree with.
It's okay to disagree. Like
It is
that's
okay.
what life is.
It is. And I think that I personally, when I hear the name Candace Owen, I have a lot of things that she said that runs through my mind, much of which is profoundly stupid. She has said some wildly inaccurate, horrible takes. I want to see what she said about Michael Oher, but I will say this for Candace Owen. She, like many political pundits, like Ben Shapiro, or here's a name of yesteryear, Michael Moore, they may or may not, they oftentimes don't agree with what they're saying, but they know what they're selling. So I don't think that Candace Owens is so crazy that she actually somewhat admired Adolf Hitler. Although that quote is wild. Yeah, no,
Well,
Google.
that's probably the worst quote she could probably have. I mean, there's a lot of things she does say that I agree with.
It's
But
yeah.
I have caught her in circumstances where I'm like, okay, your bias is showing. Like,
And I also, because she's a conservative woman, and so is Amala, and when they start speaking about like the male and female roles, I get really irritated because they'll make comments like, maybe a woman wants to be a mother, or maybe a woman wants to be a teacher, or what if a woman wants to be a nurse? And I'm like, well, what if a man wants to be a teacher? What if a man wants to be a nurse? And what if a man wants to be a stay-at-home father? You can't
Yeah.
you can't just say that. And then, so another argument too was like about, a lot of men have higher powered jobs because that's the choices that they make based off of like, they are not the ones who are taking care of the kids, and they're doing things that are more like, labor intensive, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, a lot of these things are just never presented to women. They don't even know they exist.
It's we have done, I mean, there have been studies that show that once women, and actually girls in this case, K through 12, get to 5th or 6th grade, and that's about the time where they start ramping up for the math and science, and we start sorting kids about who's smart enough to be a lawyer, who's smart enough to be a doctor, blah 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 blah, that there are a lot of societal or social barriers towards women pursuing those jobs. And about a normal person would say, whoever wants to be a doctor or a lawyer, if you're smart enough to do it, you should be able to pursue it. And then, but that doesn't make for a great culture war. It doesn't make for a great podcast. How mad how mad could you be if I say I have a niece who's in 2nd grade now, and she's shown aptitude for math and science, and that seems to be what she loves, and if she keeps loving it and keeps doing well, she wants to be a scientist. She's at the age where being a scientist sounds like fun. Doesn't know what type of scientist she wants to be, but she wants to be a scientist. So let's say that keeps going, and then I say, I don't want people at school to say, oh, math isn't for girls or whatever. How could a reasonable person be mad at that? You can't, if you're reasonable. But what you could be mad at, you could go, well, they shouldn't say that, but they should also remind them that little girls grow up to be mommies and raising
that's their biological, that's their big fight. That's their biological duty, is to be a mother.
It's not just people on the right that do this, right? Like, it's not, like Ben Shapiro makes me want to fucking die when I listen to him, because he's a brilliant man, and I know he knows that he's lying constantly. But there are pundits on the left that do this shit as well. Like, you've fucking heard me say off camera a million fucking times, I don't watch cable news. And if I get news from a cable news outlet, like if something breaks, I might go to Fox, because they usually respond the fastest to breaking news. That's kind of like their calling card. And I might go to CNN, another cesspool of a fucking news organization. Okay, I will tell you, Fox is Fox is definitively, I mean, just empirically worse. CNN is also hot garbage. If one dumpster that is on fire is a bigger dumpster with more fire in it, that does not mean that a smaller, less fiery, but still a flame dumpster is not a flame dumpster. That Socrates said that. Write that down, kids. So
what kind of dumpsters were in like ancient Greece?
Fucking naked ones. You would know that if you weren't a woman and you read history books. See, I'm going to get canceled for that clearly absurd joke, which is going to go over somebody's head. They're going to be like, see, we knew he was sexist. And it's like, no, you're dumb. Oh, no. Please don't make me watch that. I don't want it. Please don't make me watch that. Her voice.
It's only like 11 minutes long, so
I don't want to.
We can close it out.
Look at the title of her thing.
Shame on you. Go or.
I have not watched this. Do we want to do a reaction to it?
Yeah, let's do a reaction right now.
No, not now. Do that on your. No, please don't make me watch this
Damn.
woman speak. I hate her.
I think I've only watched one thing that I actually was like, oh, not bad.
I watched this woman go on the Joe Rogan. See, I'm a bad liberal. I like Joe Rogan, and I watch the Joe Rogan podcast from time to time. Okay, and that will get me a lot of flack with a lot
but
of
he's
fucking
entertaining.
liberals.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, here's what it comes down for me because, like, again, I don't agree with everything she says or does. There are things like I come to find more recently, I'm kind of annoyed by Matt Walsh, but there were some things we saw and watched, like, a few months back that I agreed with. But the thing is like after a while, some of their bias comes through so much that I'm just like, I gotta shut them down.
I found people like that. If they say something illuminating or interesting or just something that I agree with, I can usually find it from a more palatable source. And cards on the table. When I was an undergrad pursuing a law degree, and then I went to law school because you have to get your undergrad degree to go to law school.
Mhm.
There's the more stuff you have to do, but that's a large component of it. Okay, I would read, there's this wonderful legal blog. It's called the Volokh Conspiracy. It's named after Eugene Volokh. He is a very conservative and libertarian law professor. This blog used to be in the Washington Post, and then they had a good relationship, and they went to Reason, presumably because Reason was going to give him more money, or maybe for whatever reason, I don't know, whatever the reason that Reason did it. I disagreed with him constantly. And if I agreed with him, it was oftentimes, well, yeah, it sucks, but I think the law works that way. And I don't like it, but I think it works that way, or it at least works that way now. Or, not to get too far in the weeds, but the legal question is this, and I agree with him here, but that doesn't mean that I have to necessarily think that the next step of logic or the step after that is what he says it is. So I could find, and I'm sure it's obvious to our listeners now, I'm a big old fucking liberal. I'm a proud, not always proud, but I'm a self-described proud Democrat, for which these two troll me incessantly over, because they're assholes. Anyway, I can
that
find.
does not mean that we're conservative.
No,
I am a card-carrying libertarian. If you'd like to check my wallet,
I don't want people to come back and say, "Well, you said it." Do the Bill Burr thing.
Yeah, no. What I'm driving at is I could talk about the different writers because it wasn't just all Eugene Volokh, and I read in college, took a lot of philosophy classes. I love Edmund Burke. He's a classical conservative. Michael Oakeshott had some interesting, useful things to say. Classical conservative. He's an asshole, but a classical conservative. Hobbes is Leviathan. Don't read that shit. It'll make you want to die because it was written like 5 million years ago, and the way that he wrote will make your liver shut down in real time. But Hobbes' Leviathan is one of the great justifications for having a society. Comes from a classical conservative vantage point, like a country, a sovereign state. Hobbes is like, yeah, we should do that so we don't get eaten by wolves, and then other people don't come in and fucking murder us with sticks. And we're like, well, we're not just totally doing this because you said that, but yeah, that makes a lot of fucking sense. That's a pretty good idea. Yeah, back when there were city states and stuff like that. And so my point is, I can find a lot of useful shit with certain parts and parameters of conservatives. And I say all that to show that I'm not a total biased monster. Candace Owens is fucking horrible and a blight on society. Nobody should fucking listen to her. It would be my dream to debate her in anything, just so I could fucking moonwalk over her and then become very famous and someone would give me a lot of money. I could pay off my fucking student debt. So CNN, make that happen.
I don't know, man. I think she would own you.
Zero. I mean, like
he would own you.
0% chance. That's great.
Dude.
You can be loud and wrong all you want. Like anyone who is gonna get absolutely trounced by Joe Rogan's. You're not always loud, and you're usually right. So I would disagree with that. She
Here
might
comes
make
the
it.
kiss ass part.
Well, no, I mean it's just like, I mean, you should stop shaming your gamer husband, you savage. But it would the tact that I would take with her is very simple. I would start my debate with a list of irrefutable, verifiable facts, and then I would say, do something with this. And then when it wouldn't fit her narrative, that just sounds great, she would lose. Now, would that change any fucking fanboy's mind? No. If you took a presidential debate, every
Yeah, but
liberal is going to
here's the
say,
thing, though. Like, and I don't want to throw this into a big old political thing, but
sure,
you and I, we discuss football a lot. I mean, we're not on the
yeah,
Broncos a lot these days, but usually when we are, it always comes down to stats, and they can tell two different stories.
yeah, absolutely,
And the same thing happens with stats regarding politics and
absolutely.
social stuff. So, yeah, you're a smart guy. I know you're very well organized with your thoughts and how you lay them out. But I kind of see
Articulate.
her the same way. So, yeah, she might take something that works to her advantage, but it doesn't really make her totally wrong either.
It's
And
the
same
reason.
with your case. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I don't think that I'm always right, but here's the difference. She is in a business that I am not in. She is in a business to take whatever social thing has popped up, twist it to a very twist it to a not just a conservative viewpoint, because that's not fair. Twist it to a very specific part of a conservative viewpoint, and then take it and sensationalize it and run with it. It's the same thing that Michael Moore used to do. It's the same thing that Ann Coulter. I think she tries to. She's not. I don't think she's as relevant as she used to be. So on and so forth. And the issue that she would have, it's not that I just be like, here's 10 facts that means I'm right. You have to interpret facts. Now, some facts are very unassailable, right, with what they mean. 2 + 2 = 4. Is a pretty obvious one. But when she does things like for instance, when she goes like, Black Lives Matters did X, Y, and Z, and then you look at the actual reports, and then no, they 100% did not do it. The fact that she's wrong about it doesn't matter, because she just has to cater to what I would call a fan base. I don't have a fan base.
That's all of them out there.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not a like, I don't fucking turn on CNN and be like, these are the good guys and gals, and they would never lie to me. And
See,
they're in a fucking
I don't
business.
look at her and say to myself, well, she's objective. So
Yeah.
she might state some facts that I believe are true,
Yeah,
but I also know who she's catering to. So that's why I know, like when she does Michael Oher, I know exactly where it's going. you know?
oh yeah, absolutely. And where I look, what I try to do with these like, if I want an opinion, and it feels like we have less good reporting and more opinion pieces than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
When I go for reporting, I like AP Newswire. This is gold standard. They basically, that's just all they do is reporting, etc., etc., etc. But I've just seen her too many times go up on there, whatever her platform is, and like, it's like I'll just give you a concrete example. Watch her on Joe Rogan when she talks about climate change, and watch how quickly her shit falls apart when she goes with, here's my premise, here's my argument, here's my skepticism, and after like 2 questions from him, I'm gonna have to. No, I'm not gonna watch that tonight, because I don't want to spend any more time on her. But it's not.
Let's watch it. Let's just put it on.
No,
It'll be
we're
like
not.
slipping
No,
into a warm
Poet.
bath.
Why? No, a warm bath of my own blood. Like somebody stole my kidney and they're making off with it. Like, no,
We're gonna
no.
make him into a mental torment.
Oh God, absolutely.
It'll be like a Clockwork Orange, where you
Oh.
have the eyelids like being held up for like.
Then I'm gonna do the same shit to you, make you watch Bronco highlights from Russ Wilson last year. That's just that on a 24-hour loop. That's what I'm gonna do.
Let Russ cook.
Let Russ cook. Nothing but Russ press conferences and all of his picks and bad plays. And for you, Missy,
I will take Russell's bad
Cooking?
his bad cooking and his bad press conferences over Vance Joseph's. Well, we had a great week of practice every fucking week when they lost.
Hey, let me tell you something. The Broncos on Wednesday were unbeatable. All right, that was what they were.
We had a great week of practice.
They had a
That's
great week of
right.
practice. That's right. Too bad
Well,
they
the
didn't
kicker
bottle
is
it.
like he
Oh, the
wasn't even
kicker!
that.
The kicker got fired because
no,
he
I
missed
was
2
gonna
field goals and an extra point.
That was funny. That
I'm
was funny.
saying that like Vance was in Arizona as a DC and like he wasn't even that great there. So why did we think he'd be great here, other than the talent that we have, of course?
So the argument would be that Vance Joseph, his specialty is the secondary, and that's where a lot of your talent is. I also think that because Peyton was a late hire, because you were fighting to hire him with a couple other teams, he was driving up the price. So I also think that he was just looking for someone with experience, and there weren't that many guys. They could also be friends. For all I know, Vance Joseph could actually be a really good coordinator who's had some bad luck, and like a lot of people would have done worse. I don't know. I mean, he had some good years in Arizona.
He was in Miami too, I think, at one point. So
yeah,
and it's got to be terrible. Like your entire job performance is right there on TV for everyone to see every single week. Like, and then we're playing like what do you call it? Like couch quarterback, or we're
armchair quarterback.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
and we're just right there giving a bunch of shit to someone who knows what they're doing, but it's because it's right there and we're just judging every single week.
And that would be hard to take. But you know what would make it easier to take? Cashing that NFL check. That would
like the $21 million.
I would. I tell you what. You could call me pretty much anything you want. You could have a highlight of every last failing I had in my life for $20 million. I'd probably fucking kill you two on camera and go the Tierra del Fuego and like no extradition treaty.
Okay, psycho.
Hey, 20 million? You ain't worth 20 million.
I'm worth 100 million.
Yeah, if you're bad at math, you're worth 100 million. Absolutely not.
So there's this scene in Sex and the City.
No.
Yep.
No.
Where
boo.
No, it just the way he said I'm worth 100 million. Where it's the original series, I think in like the 3rd season, where Charlotte is signing a prenup with her soon to be doctor husband, and like she's reading through the prenup and it's like the worst prenup you've ever heard of, and she's only worth like $500,000, and then she had to negotiate with her future mother-in-law and she's like, I'm worth $1 million.
Yeah, and she probably was. Hey, prenups, in all seriousness, prenups are a great legal tool for all parties, as long as both parties have competent legal representation.
What if you do when you get married and neither one of you have anything?
Well, you fucking die cold.
No, but I mean, like,
you get divorced.
Yeah, you get divorced, and
what you would do is many people will go to court, and then the judge will be like, "Well, y'all ain't have shit. Why are you destroying my docket?
Why are you bothering me?"
Oh,
yeah,
no,
why are you?
I mean, what if you get married and you're young, and neither one of you has a house or any kind of finances or even anything?
Oh, your statute, and then you blow up and you have a bunch of stuff.
Together for 20 years, and you you have a house and you have finances and stuff. It's like
state statutes, and typically
like,
the general rule is halfsies.
Mm-hmm.
It gets complicated. Like, what if I have a house and then I marry you, but you work on my house and you help it appreciate in value and stuff like that. But every state has statutory guidelines that judges tend to have to follow.
What do you think about alimony for men who think that they are accustomed to a certain lifestyle?
I think I know where this is going.
I will tell you what I was taught in law school. That when there is a divorce and alimony is proffered, that's a whole nother process. But if he were to get this imaginary person that I don't know to get alimony, a former standard of living would be taken into account.
So you
Not
hear
that I
that?
know
Next Christmas, I want a new computer again.
He's got a
and
fucking computer.
And let me tell you something. Again, I am not nor anyone else's attorney, nor am I giving legal advice. Don't sue me. I don't have fucking shit. I'm going to show up in the court wearing a fucking polo shirt and a diaper, and it's going to be real unpleasant for everybody. You fuck with me, I will bring pain into your life.
All right.
So wait,
Be a
one
loincloth.
more legal question.
No.
This is a
God.
legal channel. This is not
Yeah.
law.
If said person were getting divorced, and
What
the
are
person-
you hinting at here? Is there something?
No, it's
News to me.
just a hypothetical. So if the person who doesn't make as much money and doesn't have, like, say they have a car in their name, but they're not the ones who pay for said car, would someone be responsible for paying for their car?
It would depend upon those aforementioned state statutes, most likely. But quite frankly, what I'm getting at is that this in 2023, we're taking masculinity back. Give us everything. Men are the prize. We get everything. Men get everything. That
He's gonna
is
sue me for everything if we get divorced. He'll be
you-
like,
you
I
two
want
are-
everything.
how long have you two been married?
Almost 18 years.
And how long were you dating before that?
Years.
3 years. We met in 2022. 2002.
20
Shit.
2022.
Yeah,
Just
like
last
that's
year.
yeah, just it's been a hell of a 20 years and 365
Crazy.
days.
A
You've
lot
stood
of
the
LSD.
you've a lot. Oh yeah, it was, fuck it. We were at Woodstock. That's what you do. R.I.P. Woodstock. You've stood the test of time. If you two are going to get divorced, I mean, at this point, it would probably be because I don't fucking know. You either lost a bet or just tax purposes. Like that would be that still live together.
But see, the problem is, like, getting divorced is such a pain in the ass. Like, he's too lazy to do it.
Why are we flaming my friend? Why are we?
No. This is the reality. Like, unless
What do you mean? No. This is reality. You just did it again.
so,
What the fuck is this? No, we're done.
if
We
he
can have this
chooses-
conversation off air. What are you doing? This is poetic carnage, not
This is kind of
therapeutic.
carnal, right?
This is not. We are not doing.
Poetic obliterated.
Yeah, this is not a carnal situation. I do not do carnal things with you two. No,
So
absolutely not.
I just think, like, there's no reason that
fucking
either
blind
one of us
speaking
would
in.
want to get divorced. And if something would happen where it would, like, make sense for us to get divorced, like, it just would never happen because he's too lazy to do it. And then I'd forget about it until I looked at our schedule and I'm like, oh, we were supposed to get divorced today. My bad.
Then why are you asking me about a hypothetical divorce in the first?
Because it's fun to
Ne-
watch his face.
Neko, we are going to have a conversation about boundaries.
I don't have any.
Huh.
I see. No, see this podcast is a sovereign country with boundaries. We're here. All right.
So
Do we
there's
have
no
anything
divorce
else?
in this country?
There is. We're going back to England. You can only get divorced if you're rich and the king.
All right. So any final thoughts? Sorry, we just, like, totally derailed.
Yeah, that got.
Any final
We
thoughts
said Candace Owen in there.
on Michael
Go ahead.
or Candace Owen? Because every one of these articles that I read, they all kind of have the same tone about, oh, the film made a lot of money. Michael Oher feels like he wasn't the one who, excuse me, he didn't sign the documents. He feels
Yeah.
that he was misled. He feels that the information presented to him was false or he didn't understand it, blah, blah, blah. I'm just wondering how long does this kind of investigation take? Because on one hand, they're saying that, oh, they never filed accounting, but
Well,
then-
somewhere there's got to be a paper trail of sorts.
What will happen? Let's say this goes to court and he has sued them and he's asking for an accounting, and it is my understanding he is legally entitled to ask for that accounting. I don't see them
as in a conservatorship, right?
I don't think that there's any real way out, and if there is, it's only going to be on paper and wouldn't work in practice. What would happen through this? They're either going to settle, and then we'll all want to know what the settlement was, although there'll probably be an NDA or non-disclosure agreement attached to it. Or the case will go to trial, and during trial, there's a process called discovery. Discovery is when I get my lawyers and you get your lawyers, and we all yell at each other through motions to the court, and then we meet up and we exchange evidence and yada yada yada, and then that's where like depositions and stuff like that happens. There's that'll be under the purview of the state's rules of civil procedure.
And some
how
things
long
are
that will take.
probably just, I don't want to say public information, but it's information that is readily available. It's not like secret.
Well, the conservatorship, I would assume that might be private. Not every court document is open to the public, although like for stuff like crimes and things of that nature, it absolutely is. This would be a civil lawsuit, not a criminal lawsuit. In regards to, you asked about how long it would take.
Wouldn't it turn into one if they were caught forging stuff?
Yeah, no, that's bad.
That would be separate, right? Like they'd have to.
That's a prosecutor's office might step in if they hear the news, open investigation, or they might wait for Oher. And a lot of times, like just as being a former prosecutor, somebody would come in and say, so and so did X, Y, and Z. And let's say, for sake of argument, we have good reason to believe them. Like it's on videotape, or there were 3 witnesses, or whatever. And then they call us the next day and they go, I don't want to press charges against my son, for instance, because he checked himself into rehab, or X, Y, or whatever, or I just don't want to send my baby to prison, and so I won't testify, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of times prosecutorial discretion falls in line with, how charged up involved is the witness in it. And sometimes they'll just be like, no, we're going, this is so serious, or this matters so much that even if you don't care about it, we care about it. Because this is one of the first things they teach you in law school is when you, or in crim law and whatnot, when the state brings all its mighty power against a sovereign citizen, not a sovereign citizen, those are nut jobs, against a citizen, whatever. They're not just representing the victims of the crime, they're representing society. So that's why it says the state of, Illinois, where I used to live, versus such and such, because the crime against me or you is against society. With that being said, I will now send you 5 billable hours for my beautiful, beautiful, non-legal, but legal. I shouldn't even make that joke. I am no one's lawyer. But my final thoughts are: there is going to be a paper trail. Someone is fucked. What's up, bro?
I can't pay you because I just got divorced. I have no money.
God damn it!
You're the one who got all the money because you're accustomed to a certain lifestyle.
I hid it away for 19 years.
You two are incorrigible.
All right, let's wrap this shit up. Poet, you got anything coming up, sir? Any new games? Like I know I talked to you.
Yeah, my blood pressure. My blood pressure is going up.
Under pressure.
Let me think. I have a new game launching on Friday. I think I might have picked up another weeknight game. I might have a new writing project starting, but by and large, it's just, so I'm being productive, but nothing too crazy. What about y'all? What y'all got cooking?
So later this week, tomorrow we have an interview with director Chris Alexander. In fact, after this, we got to sit down and watch one of his films that we're going to be talking about tomorrow. But
which film?
It's called Parasite Lady. It's on Tubi. It's only about 42 minutes long. I went and checked out another one called Female Werewolf today. Interesting to say the least, but he's a really nice guy. He's from Canada. So we're gonna chat with him tomorrow.
We like those independent directors. They're kind of fun.
Yeah.
I kind of like him too.
So.
That's dope. I think that one of the fun things about the independent films is, other than the fact that you're not just throwing money at an evil corporation that actively hates you because you're its audience, is they get to actually bring, and I don't mean to sound hoity-toity, but they actually get to try to bring more artistic elements
Yeah.
back into it.
Oh yeah, when we interviewed what was his name? Sean from
Sean Wright,
Night
yeah.
of the Axe.
Mhm.
He like it's a shorter horror movie, but like right behind Anubis. What I enjoyed the most was, they did, it was just a group of them, and they were the actors and the videographers, and they did the special effects, and they did everything that they could as a group, and like the blood looked really good.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about Chris so far that I've noticed with just a couple of films that I watched is he's not just a director, but he also composes the music.
Oh, that's super dope.
Yeah. So
I love that. I love that.
So yeah, that's about it for us. I'm trying to set up some more interviews, but I think we do need to do another episode of this next week, full of Candace Owens stuff.
Hold on,
No,
let me see what my
absolutely.
schedule looks like. It says only if we watch Candace Owens will I be able to. Oh yeah, sorry.
Did I say this with all love, Neko? I hope I never fucking see you again.
So,
but we love our poet. We do.
you love this poetry.
So,
speaking of which, tell me if you can see this. I got this as a gift.
Yeah, what is it?
So
this guy.
Yeah, it is. That is a skeleton of Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh wow!
And his raven, Nevermore. I got it for.
So cool.
I got it as a gift. It sits on my desk where all the magic happens, where I write all of my soon-to-be famous horror novels and content.
Now, are you putting anything up on like Substack or whatever that people can read ahead of time, or are you keeping it kind of quiet?
I'm keeping it kind of quiet.
He's gonna write me a werewolf novel.
I got actually that's on the table. So this is where I'm at with that. I have a book that is written. I might edit it down once more, but just like syntax and grammar. But it is, for all intents and purposes, done. I have a friend who's doing a cover for me, and he's doing it for me for an incredible price because I don't want to go the AI art route for a variety of reasons. Moral reasons, like part of me does believe that some of it is theft. Financial reasons, such as if I had a banging cover, I have no intellectual property right to it because it's AI art. That's all Googleable. It's not legal advice. So I'm waiting for that to get done. I'm going to get an ISBN number so it could be, found in the library, all that stuff. I'm going to put it up on, what's that place called? Jeff Bezos's Horrorland. Amazon. Amazon. Thank you. I'm going to put it up on Amazon, and I believe I could put it up on other places as well. After I publish a second thing, a second novel, I will probably start my own Patreon page. But until I get a couple that are actually published, I don't want to do the Substacks or anything like that. I want to have something that people can read, especially because I will give you a little bit of spoiler for the book I've read. It's about a main character. He is a vampire. Okay, so I know that Anubis is upset about this because he hates vampires.
I love vampires.
That's because you are a woman of culture and taste.
Big Twilight fan over here.
Oh God, that is horrible.
Anyway, worst.
Yeah, I knew you didn't like that shit. I was rooting for the Winchesters to show up.
He actually liked Twilight more than he wanted to go see the one with the wolves. We went to the movies to see it.
It's because wolves.
Wolves. The man loves werewolves.
Yeah.
But it is about
this is the most abusive relationship I've ever watched on TV.
Oh man, you need to watch some Joker Harley, because the people who are like they're the best couple. I'm like, you need therapy. Like, that's not a good couple. You need therapy. But it's about 100 pages. And really what it is, it's a teaser, because it's like, if enough people like it, I have a basis to actually sit down and write a full-fledged novel. I wrote something that is coherent, that gives his backstory, that I think is interesting. Obviously, I think it's good. I put my fucking names on it, right? And if it does well enough, and people want more, then I know exactly where I'm taking it, and I'll start writing it. If it doesn't go well, then I know what my next project will be, which will also be horror. At this point, I'm pretty much a fantasy / horror writer, and I fucking love it.
This works out really well, because once he writes the novel, he'll come to me and then I'm gonna go to Sean or some other director, get that rights to have that made to a movie for them, and then I'm gonna
And then
create the soundtrack because I know all these local bands and stuff. So we got this set, dude.
that's right. And then you're going to put me into a conservatorship, and then 20 years later, I'm going to fucking beat the shit out of you because you stole my fucking money. And that's not to make fun of. For any listener out there, we're not laughing at
No.
Michael Oher because I think we all kind of feel like he probably, in some way, shape, or form, he got screwed. To what extent? We're just
It doesn't
talking
look
shit.
good
So
for the Tuies right now.
no, it sure doesn't. And you know what? This is the last thing I'll add on that. For a family with as much notoriety and money and resources as them, if it comes out that they did bad, I don't want to hear 5 years later, well, we were misrepresented and what. No, you're rich enough to have your own fucking PR person. I'm not hearing none of that. So I hope
Kiss
the
me with
truth
that
comes
shit.
out. Yeah, I hope the truth comes out. And God, it is such a weird and depressing story.
Mhm.
And
And like honestly, it's Britney Spears, and there was another one recently where I didn't even realize that they were in a conservatorship, and now this whole thing with Michael Oher, I'm like, this. I don't know why I find reading about it just it's utterly fascinating and heartbreaking at the same time.
it's morbid. It's such a morbid thing. And at the end of the day, it's like why serial killers are fascinating, because it's like looking at a car crash and you can't look away. There's something that attracts you to something that's awful. And I don't think either of you go too far where it's just voyeurism and you're almost stoked that it happened. Like, yeah, let me get another car crash, or something like that. But it is rough. And I will say this for Michael Oher. If he's still stuck in that conservatorship, and I think that he is, I cannot imagine that thing lasts very long. And regardless of of the truth or whatnot, hope he's able to get out of it and have a good life. Because at the end of the day, the Tuies, nothing's really good. Like, their name might get ran through the mud a little bit, but they're royalty where they live. They've got all the money in the world. People are loyal to them to an extent. Nothing's really going to change. I don't foresee them being able to be sued, and next thing you know, he's living in their house. And I don't think that he needs like all of their money or anything. I've never read that he blew through all of his money and all
I
of that
think
stuff.
he got to a certain age and actually had some friends or a wife or someone who started looking into his personal finances and said, Michael, I don't think that, the Tuies have been honest with you about things.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
I
yeah.
don't know. Like, once something led to it, like, because he still talks to them because he considers them family. So
Yeah, they're estranged, but I don't
something
think they're totally
happened
cut
along
off.
the way. You know.
Yeah, and and I do hope that there can be, regardless of what happened, I do hope there can be a reconciliation, because I do believe that at one point they all did love one another. And
Mhm.
I would like to close out on this note. It
Okay.
is okay to cut people out of your life who are family members.
Yeah.
There's some people who, very obvious examples, but I don't believe in throwing the baby out with the bathwater, in most cases. And if they can come to some agreement and get back in one another's lives and find some peace, that is a much better outcome. And that is the one that I hope for. Someone's got to take accountability for what they did. And who knows, maybe that will turn into a Hallmark show and they'll both all make a bunch of money with one
Right.
another.
Right.
Oh God, wouldn't that be like adorable? It's like, look, Michael, we really were doing the best for you, and they produce all the accounting, and it's like everything. They have like a little trust fund set up for him, and like we were going to present this to you.
Or it
Uh-oh.
becomes Death Clock Christmas.
Oh God, no! No death. We're done. That's the end of the show.
Done.
We're done.
All
Poet
right.
right.
out.
For you watching, please hit the subscribe button. Please
And
hit
the
the
like button.
for us.
Like
Share
means
our stuff.
Share our stuff, or I am going to break into your house, and I'm probably just going to leave.
Just him.
Just
Yeah.
no. I'm taking Neko with me. She's the murderer.
All right, all. Thanks for checking out. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
I need more wine.
She needs more wine.
She needs more wine.
Just before you die.